Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of SEC Power Rankings. I am your host, Matthew Miller. You can follow me right there on X or Twitter. Now, let's jump right into these power rankings in the SEC. We always start out on the bottom, and this team is back to being the worst team in the conference, according to myself. I'm going with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I was a little bit higher on them. I think I had them 14th or 15th last week. I don't really see them moving, actually, after this. Maybe Kentucky falls down here, and we'll get to them in a second, but they got absolutely boat raced at home. Arkansas had over 600 yards of offense. I believe that's like the second or third time this year Arkansas has had over 600 yards of offense. So this drops down Mississippi State number 16. I will say the Mississippi State offense has gotten better. Michael Van Buren, I think he's your future quarterback. I really like him a lot. I like the weapons you have with Mario Craver and Kevin Coleman and those guys. I think you need to find yourself a better running back, and I think you need to get some special pieces on defense. But if you do that, you could probably be 6-6, 7-5 next year. But I could be wrong about Jeff Lebby. We'll have to see. I didn't really love the hire. I don't think he's that good, but he's proven me wrong actually so far. I know the schedule or the record doesn't look good, but they've been in every game other than this one. They've competed with better teams, so that's a good sign. Now, this team has just fallen off a complete cliff. Number 15, I have Kentucky, and I think Mark Stoops is done. The fan base is totally turned against him. I think he's checked out. Tyler and I talked about that on the Tuesday live show. Join us for that on the SEC channel at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And he's just completely floundered after that Ole Miss win. You know, you win that game, you played on your tempo, your basis, and then ever since then, you've gotten kicked in the mouth. You've lost a couple teeth. You look like a homeless person out there now, basically. Yeah, it's just not good. They're just getting dominated on both lines of scrimmage, honestly. And they're just not a good football team. Brock Vandagriff is not worth the money you paid him. I don't know what the hell you guys were thinking with that. There's reports out there he got like $1 million. That is insane. That is insane, guys. He is not good. And Barrion Brown, I feel bad for him. He's cost himself a lot of money by just staying at Kentucky. If he went anywhere else, he would have made himself some money. He's a good wide receiver. But I think Mark Stoops has got to go. Number 14, I do have the team that beat Kentucky Auburn. 14 guys on the field on a field goal before you end the half. You can't even get them out there. And then when you do get them out there, you have too many. Hugh Freeze, man, I don't know. We'll see. I'll give him one more year. I think Auburn will as well with the recruiting class they have coming in. But overall, just not a good football team this year. They execute poorly, they're coached poorly, and they choke in the biggest moments of games. To me, this is a sign of bad coaching. And I think Hugh Freeze's advantage is no longer there. Remember, guys, he was doing NIL before NIL was a thing. And I think that's honestly why he was so good. He just had better talent. I don't think he's that good of a coach. So we'll see what happens with them, but they're number 14. Number 13, and you finally got it right, guys. Jackson Arnold is the quarterback of this team. He actually looked pretty good versus Ole Miss. I was actually thoroughly impressed. John Joe Finley, way better of an offensive coordinator than whatever the hell Seth Littrell was getting. Guys, if Seth Littrell ever gets another job as an offensive coordinator in Division I football, it is a crime against humanity. What the fuck? That's what I'm going to say. And I'm a Texas fan, and I'm saying, what the hell are you doing? You ran the completely wrong offense, my dude. Jackson Arnold looked good. He looked good yesterday. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, that game yesterday may have saved Brett Venables' tenure. No, they didn't win, but they looked good. They looked like a team that could compete on an every down-in and down-out basis in the SEC. And their offensive line is still not good. That needs to get fixed. But Seth Littrell should never have another job again. He will get one because this is an old boys club. They just recycle the same old BS talent that you have, or talent, I should say, because Seth Littrell is not good at his job. It's bullshit that he's probably going to get another one. He is not good. So congratulations, Oklahoma. I honestly think if he continues that throughout the season, I would hire him and keep him on. And I'm not even trolling. Number 12, this team, I think, is, if they had any sort of schedule, would completely free fall here. They're not a good football team. Eli Drinkowitz got lucky. He had a lot of NFL talent on last year's team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And you see what he is. Guys, Eli Drinkowitz is who he was prior to the year last year. He was a guy who probably was going to get fired last year if he didn't have the year he had. And that's who he is. He's not a good coach. He'll be gone, whether that's fired or jump for another job. If Florida can't find anyone, they'll throw him money, which, my God, if you do that, guys, keep Billy Napier. Keep Billy Napier. He's better than Eli Drinkowitz. Brady Cook did get hurt, and that guy is exactly who I thought he was. He's Max Duggan. He's a baller. He's a gamer. He's okay. He's not great. But that guy hit his hand twice in the game. He hurt his ankle coming into the game, and then I was turning it back and forth. And then I see he's out of the game, and then Alabama just boat races him the rest of the way. So overall, just not a good game. for Missouri, and they're just not that good of a football team. They're going to be one of the worst 9-3, 8-4 football teams of all time. They're legitimately, if they played Florida's schedule, they're a 5-7 team, maybe 6-6. Like Florida and Missouri are basically the same team. And here, right above them, I have Florida. I think Florida's a better football team right now. I think if Florida played Missouri on a neutral field, I would take Florida. They found DJ Lagway has been playing well when he has been the quarterback. It sucks for Graham Mertz that he got hurt, but the lines of scrimmage have been playing a little bit better. The defense has been slightly better. It hasn't been great, but it's been good enough. And I think Billy Napier is learning on the job at a big time program. I don't think I don't think that's unrealistic to say that or unfair to say that. And we'll see if they keep him. I think if they go 6-6, they should consider keeping him because remember, guys, you're going to have the same exact schedule next year. The only difference is you're out of conference games, and the other games, road games will be home games and home games will be road games. That's it. So your schedule's still going to be difficult. So to me, if you're competitive throughout the rest of the season and you happen to pull an upset, I would keep him. If you go 5-7, I understand firing him. You can't go 3 years in a row without a bowl game at Florida or with a losing record at Florida. That hasn't happened since 1945, 1946, and 1947. So I do understand that. But 6-6, to me, he should keep his job. Number 10, if they had any sort of consistency and honestly good luck, they probably only have one loss right now. They should have beat LSU. What's the other game they should have won? They should have beat Alabama. They're a good football team, and they're really good up front. Their front four is probably one of I think it's the best in the country, but if you want to argue, it's top 5 at least, in my opinion. Dylan Stewart, Kennard off the edge. They're phenomenal edge rushers. I'm glad Texas doesn't play him this year. We will have to see. We'll probably see Dylan Stewart once in his career. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him his junior year in 2 years, but I'm glad we don't have to play him this year because our offensive line is struggling, and that front four is nasty. So they are my number 10 team. Number 9 is Alabama. Didn't switch them. That game does nothing for me versus Missouri. Like I said, I don't think Missouri is a good football team. They've just proven that when they go up against good competition. So I have Bama here at 9. Is your defense fixed? Probably not. You just face Drew Pine. That fixes most defenses. And yeah, this is where I have them. I think they're an okay team. We'll see versus LSU. If they beat LSU, I'll move them up a couple spots. They should beat LSU. You are at, I believe, no, they're on the road. So maybe they shouldn't. It's going to be an elimination game. You lose that game, you're not making the college football playoff. If you win that game, I think you have a shot still. There's going to be a lot of 10-2 teams, and that'd be a really good win on the road in Death Valley. Number 8, didn't drop them. Vanderbilt. I think they're a good, solid football team. I think they're a 7-5, 8-4 football team. They do nothing spectacularly, but they do everything well. Up until they played Texas, they had not been turning the ball over. But let's be honest here, Texas has a really good defense. I can say that. I'm more confident in the Texas defense than I am the offense. And they struggled a little bit. Diego Pavia struggled a little bit. But the defense actually surprised me. The defense played pretty well. They were able to get pressure on Quinn Ewers. At this point, is it that hard to do? Because maybe our offensive line just sucks compared to what I thought it was going to be and what it was for a majority of the season. So Vanderbilt, definitely a solid football team, but not a great football team. Do I think they should probably be ranked? Yes, this year they should because this is a down year in college football, but are they a typical top 25 team? No. Number 7 is Arkansas. Arkansas, Vandy, and Bama, if they played on a neutral field, I don't know where I'd go with that, honestly. I think they're all pretty damn similar. They all have glaring weaknesses in certain aspects. Like I said, Vanderbilt, to me, the secondary can still be exploited, but they are getting pass rush now, so maybe because of that they can't. Alabama's secondary can definitely exploit it, and I think Arkansas is kind of the same thing, but they all have pretty good front fours to neutralize that to some extent. Yeah, Arkansas, it's going to be interesting. They're so inconsistent week in and week out. If they play their best game versus Texas and Texas continues to play the way it has the last 2 weeks, I think Arkansas will beat Texas. I think they will if they play an A game. Now, if they play their C game and Texas plays C game, we'll beat them by 10 points, 14 points. The rivalry, I have to do good. I have to give some respect to because they do care about that game. But right now, they are my number 7 team. Number 6 team is one of the biggest fraudulent teams in the SEC. I would say Missouri's the most fraudulent. I think LSU was second on my list coming into the year. Number 3, it wasn't on my list, but it is now, is Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin doesn't win big football games. They're not that good of a team. You were struggling with Oklahoma. And yes, Oklahoma looked the best they have all year, honestly, especially in SEC play. But you can't struggle with Oklahoma. You only won that game by 12 points, and you were losing at halftime, I believe. So I tried to believe in them. I tried to convince myself, but I never did because I don't trust Lane Kiffin. I don't think Jackson Dart's that good. I think the defense is actually pretty damn solid, and there's no more excuses for Lane Kiffin. You got the defense. You have the offense. Trey Harris was out yesterday. That you should still beat Oklahoma by more at home. Number 5 is LSU. complete meltdown in the second half of that game. Garrett Nussmeier does what he tends to do, which is turn the football over, and he did that multiple times versus Texas A&M. I have to give you shit too, because you were not prepared for Marcel Reed to come in that game for whatever reason. Do not understand it. Do not know why. You should have been prepared for both. They have both played big minutes and big meaningful games this year. Marcel Reed played in the damn Arkansas game. Why are you not prepared? And A&M finally got it right, by the way. That is the quarterback. Connor Wigman is not good. I have said this for going into this season. He's not good. He has had 2 great games in his career. Miami on the road, they lost that game versus a bad defense. Missouri, bad defense at home, the most overrated team in the SEC. He's not a good quarterback. Marcel Reed needs to be the guy going forward. I made that my 5 takeaways about a month and a half ago after the Arkansas game. I said he's the guy, and then they went back to Connor Wigman. He had 1 good game. Connor Wigman's not good. He's not good. So go with Marcel Reed, and LSU, you blew that. You blew it. And you better win next week. Otherwise, you won't be making the college football playoff. And that hot seat gets hot for Brian Kelly. A&M, good, solid team. They got to get the quarterback figured out. Their defensive line is good. It's not as good as everyone thinks it is, but it is good. Their secondary is spectacular. Linebackers are good enough. Offensive line is playing much better this year than they have in the past with basically the same guys. And you don't know who the quarterback is. I think if I'm Mike Elko, like I said, I go with Marcel Reed, but I don't know if they do that. That's who I would go with. I think Connor Wigman is inaccurate. I think he's a turnover machine, and Marcel Reed's a better athlete. He doesn't really turn the ball over. Now, will your passing game suffer down the field? Probably. But I'd rather have a guy where he doesn't turn the ball over, especially with that defense. And honestly, guys, with Texas playing Texas A&M, I would love for Connor Wigman to play. He would throw us 3 or 4 interceptions, and we'd be able to score off those. In Marcel Reed plays, he's probably not going to turn over the ball, and that game's going to be low scoring, and it's going to be in their tempo. And I don't want to play that way. I don't want to play it in a phone booth, basically. So I would go with Marcel Reed, but they are my number 4 team. Number 3 is Tennessee. They were on a bye week. Not much to say here. Nico, if you play better this year, you can probably win a national championship. That defense is that damn good. Dylan Sampson is that damn good. The offensive line does need to get better around him, but Nico also has to be better. Number 2, I still have Texas. Stop shooting yourself in the damn foot. Like I said yesterday in the postgame, we are Plaxico Burst in the club. We got the thing tucked in the waistband, and we are firing bullets at our own damn feet, because that's what's happening. Multiple bad turnovers against the same guys. Cameron Williams, especially on the offensive line, needs to get his shit together. Quinn Ewers played a good game yesterday. Yesterday was the offensive line. The game before was, I believe, Quinn Ewers did not step up in the pocket and do what he had to do. Quinn Ewers, was he perfect with that? No, but he did it. And guess what? You didn't help. You let 3 blitzers come right up the middle multiple times on Quinn Ewers. Terrible job by the offensive line yesterday with the penalties and execution. And then overall, as an offense, other than Quinn Ewers, we did not execute at a high enough level to win that game, but what we should have. That game, I never thought we were going to lose, but that should have been a 34-17 game. That's what the final score should have been. That's what I felt the whole game is. It was way closer than it should have been. It kind of reminded me of the Kansas State game last year, where it was a complete meltdown of execution and turnovers, and they got back in the game. Now, that game I did think we were going to lose, because it was 4th and 3 from our own, like 5 or 6 in overtime. I thought we were going to lose that game. But can't say anything bad about the defense. Defense has been phenomenal. Offense, get your shit together. Number 1, they were on a bye week, but they're still going to be here, the Georgia Bulldogs. If they play like they did versus Texas and Carson Beck does not turn the ball over, they will win the national championship. They will win the national championship. That's a big if. Can they play like that on a down and down out basis, week in and week out basis on defense? And can Carson Beck stop turning the ball over? He is a turnover machine at this point. We'll see if that happens. It usually doesn't, but we will see. Guys, again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out what we're trying to build here. Join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time for the SEC live show. We probably won't have it on election night. I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think we should, so we're not going to do it then. But this week, upcoming week, we will have it. Join us every Tuesday other than election night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. This is another edition of the SEC Power Rankings here on the Voice of College Football SEC channel. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, see you guys.